This week on HomeKit News, the Aqara Ceiling Light L1 350 with HomeKit. Today's product isn't exactly new, but if you like Aqara products, this could be of interest to you. Today we're looking at the L1 350 ceiling light. There's not much to see on the box, but specs show it does use Zigbee, so it requires a hub which exposes it to HomeKit. Additionally, if you're from North America, the good news is that even though it states 220 volts, it actually works perfectly well on 100 to 120 volts as well, just like their T1 smart bulb in fact. Let's have a look at the lamp itself now, and as the name would imply, the lamp is 350mm or 13 3/4 inches in diameter, and flipping it to the side, in total it's 60mm or 2.5 inches deep. It comes with a thin metallic strip, which I'm not personally so keen on, but I doubt I'll notice it once it's fixed to a ceiling, to be honest. The underside has 3 holes for fixing the lamp to your ceiling, and there's also a hole for the wires to pass through. I'll now just take the diffuser cover off so you can see the inside where the LEDs are housed. There are 48 LEDs in total, and towards the centre you can see the sockets to connect the live, neutral and ground wires, although many light fittings don't have a ground wire. I've now temporarily wired the lamp up so we can see the LEDs in action. Now, I'm in the Aqara app at the moment, and if you've got any Aqara lighting products, you may have seen this interface before. So if I turn the light on, you can see that it's set to full warm white with roughly half the LEDs on. If I drag the dot down to the bottom of these circles, it turns on the cool white LEDs only, and of course placing the dot in the middle turns on both sets of LEDs. Dragging the dial adjusts the brightness, as you can see, although in this studio setting it's not clear in this case how much difference there is. If I move to the Home app now, as expected I can turn the light on or off directly from the tile, but if you go into the settings you might be happy to notice the adaptive lighting icon. So yes, this does indeed work with adaptive lighting, although of course you can choose your own colour temperature as standard if you wish, as well as adjust the brightness just like any other HomeKit light. As it's Zigbee, it's going through a hub, and in this case I'm going through the MagicPad S1, which is a display panel that replaces a standard light fitting. You can learn more about the MagicPad and other Aqara display panels via the link in the corner. If you have any Aqara wireless switches, you can get a bit more control out of the L1. In the first of 3 examples, here's an H1M wireless switch, and via automations you can do a bit more than just turn the light on or off. In this example, if I press both switches, I can turn the light on or off. If I single press the left switch, it sets it to 100% brightness. A double click sets it to 50% brightness, whilst a long press goes down to just 10% brightness. I'll first just set the light back to 100% brightness. Now if I single press the right switch, I can set it to halfway between warm and cool white. A double press sets it to 100% warm white, with a long press giving me 100% cool white. And finally, as before, I can press both buttons to turn the light off. This option isn't available in HomeKit, unfortunately. A second quick example shows how I can use a wireless H1 rotary dimmer to control the brightness, amongst other things, in an even more intuitive way. So, single pressing the dial turns the light on as before. I can use the same action to turn the lamp off again. A double press sets the lamp to 100% warm white, and finally a long press sets the light to 100% cool white. For me, the most intuitive part of this particular switch is by simply rotating the dial, which acts like any normal rotary dimmer to adjust the brightness levels. The sensitivity of the dial can also be adjusted in the Aqara app. What's also very cool with the rotary dimmer is if I press the dial down while rotating it, I can also adjust the colour temperature to my liking. These are just 2 examples of how you can control the L1, and most Aqara switches can be used just like the examples shown. Lastly, I've got the Smart Switch S1E and the MagicPad S1, which can both control all parameters of the L1. So for the S1E, you can see I can turn the light on or off, and I get separate slider controls to allow for brightness adjustment as well as colour temperature. Very simple to use basically, and you can even tap the icon to turn the lamp on or off. Onto the Magic Pad, and it's much the same, although the interface can be expanded to show power controls as well as brightness and color temperature, like so, with a small shining light graphic to show the adjustments as you make them. Although I've not reviewed many ceiling lights, I still think it's a good idea to see some of the differences and what they offer. So I'm comparing Aqara's L1 to a recently reviewed Zemismart ceiling light, which also uses Zigbee, and Xiaomi's own Mijia 450 ceiling light, which uses Wi-Fi. The Mijia is by far the brightest and also has a Bluetooth gateway built in, but it doesn't offer colour and doesn't even work with adaptive lighting. The Zemismart offers colour but also doesn't use adaptive lighting. So on balance, if you don't mind using Wi-Fi and have a large room, then the Mijia 450 is a good fit. But if you're already in the Aqara ecosystem, the L1 does pretty well with offering adaptive lighting. So onto the pros and cons, starting with Zigbee. As I've said a lot recently, if something doesn't need to be Wi-Fi, then I prefer to go with Zigbee or Thread, and this sits in with my other Aqara devices quite nicely. I do wish more companies would add adaptive lighting to their products, and so it's great to see it offered here, which is something you won't be seeing for a while yet with Matter lights, unfortunately. The price can vary depending on where you buy it from, but considering the lumens and the build quality, you do get a lot for a little at around $35 to $45. As you've seen, control in the Aqara app gives you a lot, but it's also worth bearing in mind that most Aqara switches are also HomeKit compatible, so it's a win-win. When it comes to Matter support, this lamp isn't mentioned with the devices that will be exposed to Matter via the relevant hub updates, although I'm less concerned about that personally. The only downside for some is that, as far as I'm aware, this will only work with hubs connected to the China server, which also means it won't work with Google or Amazon. That's our hot take on the Ceiling Light L1 350. If I've missed anything or if you have any questions on this product, drop your thoughts in the comments section below. If you like this video, please give it a like and share, whilst also ensuring you subscribe to see more smart home product reviews in the future. In the meantime, stay safe, and remember, I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy.